Hey everyone, it's your buddy and pal Karnak with Serenity Wargaming and Explanations. We're back, another Star Wars Armada video focusing on the Tranquility title for the Venator for the Grand Army of the Republic. So, I've been saving this title, and I have a lot of requests to do it, and it's to me it seems pretty self-explanatory, but I understand how can there still be some minor things that some people just would like to see it explained. But this is one of the best titles in the game, hands down, one of the best titles in the game. It is a champion. It is Tranquility. So Tranquility, if you can't tell by the picture, it equips to a Venator. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the picture there. Opposite corner, you'll see the faction icon, which is Republic. It is only 3 points. 3 points for something that, personal opinion, is just, man, if your ship ever dies and it's got shields on it and you've got Tranquility equipped, something drastic must have happened, because I have never been able to kill a Venator with this title equipped that had any shields remaining. It's always been able to capitalize on using almost its entire shields from everywhere. But why is that? Well, let's get into it. So as I always do, I just will read through the card, and then we go through and break anything down. So with Tranquility, you see the little dot or bullet point in front of it signifies that it is unique. You can only bring one of these in your fleet, and thank goodness for that, because they're tough. It's tough to kill anyway. Okay, while defending, after the spend defense tokens step, if you spent fewer than 2 defense tokens, you may move up to 2 shields from one of your hull zones to the defending hull zone. If you do, the number of shields in that zone cannot exceed a maximum of 6. You cannot recover shields while any zone is greater than its maximum value. So it's a lot of words there, and there's kind of like some micro parts to it, but in a nutshell, what does this do? Okay, did you spend fewer than 2 defense tokens, meaning did you spend 0 or 1 defense tokens? I know sometimes English is difficult to grasp. People like, does that mean I can spend 2? It's like, no, you can spend 0 or you can spend 1. People are like, is 0 even a number? Yes, according to mathematics, 0 is a number. So 0 or 1 is less than 2. And if you've done so, if you only spent 0 or 1 defense tokens, then you can move 2 shields from another zone to the zone that's defending. So to go over it again, the real quick part is, are you being attacked in a hull zone? Did you spend only 1 or less tokens? Then take 2 shields from anywhere else on your ship that has 2 shields. You can only choose 1 hull zone. You can't take it from 2 separate zones. So you move it from 1 zone to the defending zone. You can't have it be more than 6, and you can't if you have more shields than the zone allows for, then you can't recover any more shields in that zone. But you should never be allowing the effect that is disadvantageous to you ever be an effect. There's no point for it. Okay, so let's get into breaking down each part, and again, why this card is just so fantastic. So for Tranquility, while defending, so there's a reason specifically why it's in the spend defense token step, and that is, or after the spend defense token step, which is still before the resolve damage step. Okay, so resolve damage step, the first thing attacker does is resolve a critical effect. So this takes place before that, because it's for people who can't wrap their heads around time in Star Wars Armada. Typically cards will say, before the step or during the step or after this step, and sometimes even within those steps there can be other steps. But in this specific case, after you're done spending defense tokens or doing any of the other cards that require you to use them during the spend defense token step, when you're after the spend defense tokens step, but again before you start the resolve damage step, this is where this card takes place. It's like a little slice in between these things, is when you can say, okay, I spent fewer than 2 defense tokens. Let's say I'm being attacked on my front hull zone. Venators on the front, they get four shields up there. Let's say the incoming damage is 2 damage. You can say, okay, I'm going to take 2 shields from my rear hull zone, put them on my front hull zone. So now it goes from 4 to 6. Okay, now you're in the resolve damage step. the damage that's coming in is just only 2 damage, so then you reduce the shield value from 6 back to 4. And it's like you didn't even do anything. And again, this detriment here, the cannot move shields while you cannot recover shields, excuse me, while any zone is greater than its maximum shield value. That only matters if the ship itself is trying to repair, and for some reason you do have like the one of your hull zones at more than its capability. Like for example, if you were being attacked on your left hull zone, which has 3 shields, and let's say you move 2 shields from your right to your left, and so it puts it from 3 to 5. Let's say you then only take 1 damage, so now you're at 4. Okay, yes, now the detriment comes into effect because you've got 4 shields in a spot that typically should only have 3, and that means that if you try to recover shields, which is when you're putting shields back on your ships, if you do like a repair dial or repair token, you can't do it. This doesn't allow you to have another ship putting shields back onto it. Okay, just because it can't recover shields doesn't mean something else can't move shields to you based on the clarification that was gotten. It follows the same clarification as aspiration. Somebody was asking if you can projection experts to the Tranquility title, and yes, you're correct. Tranquility and projection experts is based, essentially around the fact ruling for aspiration, as I mentioned. To apply fact for Tranquility, this is the answer, and essentially it's just the name swap. Shields can be moved to hull zones on the ship that this card Tranquility is equipped to, including through the card effect of projection experts, as long as the number of shields in the hull zone they are moved to does not exceed the hull zone's maximum shield value. So you can't ever, so if something is at 5, like you can't put it to 6 with projection experts. If something already is at 3, you can't make it increase more. But where you can put shields back is like, for example, say you moved shields off that rear hull zone and put them on the front. You beefed it from 4 to 6 to the front, and your rear hull zone is 0. Then projection experts can put 2 shields back on the rear zone to buff it back up to 2. It just can't keep like putting more shields in a place that already is beyond its maximum of the value listed on the ship card. Okay. And you cannot go beyond 6. I've had people be like, yeah, now I'm at 8. I'm like, no, no, you can't just put more shields in just because you feel like it, right? The final part of this too is that, again, following the aspiration FAQ, is that after this card Tranquility is discarded by effects such as Darth Vader, shields exceeding a hull zone's maximum shield value are immediately lost. You really are not seeing title stripping ability very often, so this is not typically an issue you're going to run into much unless they've got the boarding Vader and it's coming for you. So that's Tranquility in terms of like usage effects, like how it works. Let's get into why this upgrade is just so amazing, and again why I said before, like if your Venator dies and it has shields on it, like something went terribly wrong, because I've never hardly been able to kill a Venator with this title equipped that manages to not utilize all of its shields in its survival. Because for Tranquility, there is no, it's not like an exhaust ability, which I almost feel like this should have been an exhaust ability, to be perfectly honest for you. For the point cost, it should have been exhaustible if it was going to, because this works for every single attack. Every single attack. It is the epitome of just squadrons go away, don't bother me. Like, it doesn't matter where squadrons shoot you on this thing. You're never going to force it to spend defense tokens, because it just simply takes shields from wherever it wants. It doesn't matter if you shoot it in the shield section that has no shields, because it's just going to take it from someplace else and put it to where you're shooting, and you will not be able to kill this thing with squadrons. It is almost impossible. Even if you're flying like a one big heavy hitter, I want to punch you in the face. Again, it's even if you accuracy all of the defense tokens, it still gets to move 2 shields to wherever you're shooting, and it still mitigates. Again, the damage is still happening, right? You're still getting damage, and eventually you'll chew through all those shields. But in the moment that you're doing your moment of engagement where you're trying to pound past the shields to apply those face-up damage cards, this card is what's stopping you. Typically it's just so difficult to bust through all those shields to eventually get to the point where we can start throwing damage cards on the thing. It gets worse when you throw Luminara into the mix. Or I mean Obi-Wan Kenobi too, just because if you can't spend the redirect just to reduce damage, some people like to put expert shield techs on this thing with Tranquility, and with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and all they worry about is just spending the redirect to just not only block damage but also then move shields. And it's just so frustrating, this title. Like I said, I feel like it's worse with Luminara because, like, you can salvo. You know, like, okay, I'll salvo. Like, I'm not even going to try to mitigate the damage by bracing and redirecting. Or if it is a really huge hit coming in, if you can't accuracy the brace or stop the brace, okay, then I'll spend my brace, reduce the damage. I still move shields. Like, there's no reason to redirect ever on this ship. Like, that's why most people will take like expert shield sex, because it's just so anti-squadron. It's so detrimental to squadrons is why. And if you're taking a Venator 1 and you're not taking the Tranquility title, you're doing something wrong, because the Venator 1 does not have a defensive retrofit. You can't put thermals on there. You can't put ECM on there. If you're not bringing Tranquility as the title for your Venator 1 to ensure that it is not dying a fiery death, you really need to explain to me what's a better title than that on there. Like, oh, Resolute. I'm like, no, you don't need tokens. There's plenty of ways to get tokens on your Venator. There's the clone navigation officers. There's a munition supply. There's CommsNet. You can bring a. I mean, they don't have a flotilla, but their peltas are relatively still cheap. The transport frigates. You can throw CommsNet on that thing. Like, there's just so many other options to be able to get tokens. And like I said, like, even a Pelta just putting a clone navigation officer on there, like, okay, you don't get what's the token it doesn't hand out? It doesn't hand out a repair token. Okay, so you bring clone navigation officer, and then you bring the part supply, and then boom, you can use clone navigation officer twice before having to worry about trying to refresh it. Which, again, if you're bringing parts resupply, that's how you're refreshing that card and handing out repair tokens. Like, there are so many ways to mitigate ever needing to bring Resolute. And the triumphant title is just Gar. There's this strategy where, like, oh, I throw a bunch of ships out with the hyperspace rings, and then I try to triumphant them, and it's too many moving parts even for Gar. Just keep it simple. Bring on your Venator 1, bring Tranquility, and be happy for it. I mean, even for Venator 2s that do get the defensive retrofit for thermal shields and ECM, what do you always see slapped on there? Tranquility. Like, you never see Triumphant. You see, in some rare use cases, you'll see Resolute, and that's for very specific things. But otherwise, for 3 points, it's it's one of the best cards in the game. It's one of the best tiles in the game. I don't know how this was priced at 3 points, to be perfectly honest with you. I think at 2 points and being exhaustible is where this title should be, or it should be like 5 or 6 points, because it happens each time you attack the stupid thing. You can see my frustrations with it. But this is like one of the real good things Republic has for it, compared to, it's one of the factions that still continues to kind of struggle, just because it's obvious that it's still missing parts to complete the whole picture. So hopefully at some point we can get those from Atomic Mass Games if they are developing that. So anyway, that is Tranquility. I can go on forever about this card, but no matter which Venator you're equipping it to, you're going to get full value out of it. But of course, let me know where you've seen this card used effectively, or what strategies you have, anything of that nature. Appreciate everyone watching, and hey, I'll catch you next time. Quick shout out to the sponsors of the channel. Firstly, to Otherworld Events. Regardless if you're needing assistance for event managing, planning, organizing, how to even start, or just need specific ideas for what it is you're doing that you already have a plan for, Otherworld Events can help you out. Second, to Admiral Tater Ship Shop. Admiral Tater Ship Shop, while specializing in Star Wars Armada miniature items, also has X-Wing and Legion items. If you're looking to really get some great looking acrylics on the table, whether it be holders for your upgrade cards or tokens or acrylic tokens, and most importantly, you just want a perfect range ruler with no flaws or errors in it, that's going to give you exact measurements every time, highly recommend Admiral Tater. It's the range rulers I use at tournaments. I know they're cut perfectly, they're going to range perfectly, and I'm going to get that best measurement every single time. Also, just look at everything they have available.